Hello guys. This is your host Zach Weaver bringing you Off the Air, a media news show. I want to talk to you about the Sinclair Tribune deal, a $3.9 billion deal, close enough, for Sinclair Broadcasting Group to purchase Tribune, which will give them a reach of 72% of U.S. households, and it'll also it'll expand Sinclair's reach from 42 states to 46 states. Already Sinclair, their news segments reach an audience of 2.2 million viewers, which is higher than even the Fox News programs. So anyway, this is a pretty big deal. It got a lot of press over the summer with John Oliver did a really good video on it, which you guys should watch. So yeah, basically a little bit of backstory on Sinclair. You have, they were a fairly small company up until the mid to late 90s when in 1996 Bill Clinton passed the Telecommunications Act, which was very deregulated a lot of these companies, and deregulated broadcasting and media in general. So that was very beneficial for a company like Sinclair, and then they skyrocketed in size after that. What came of that was they continued to grow and grow and grow, and then recently, a couple of things that have helped companies like Sinclair and broadcasting companies in general. You have in April, the FCC, they reinstated an obsolete UHF discount, and that required that was more accurate. They required broadcasters to report their audiences more accurately. Now that this has been reinstated, broadcasters can underreport their audiences and the range of their signals by as much as 50%. And in October, the FCC abolished something called the main studio rule, and this the main studio rule required broadcasters to maintain studios or to maintain stations within 25 miles of communities where they're broadcasting signals and where they're licensed to do that. That's gone. So these are the things that Ajit has done with the FCC in regards to broadcasting. He's reinstated this. He's now allowing broadcasters and the stations to underreport their audience range, and now broadcasters don't have to maintain stations nearly as close to the audiences where their signals are reaching. Less local. So local news is going to be far less local, and Sinclair has been abusing that for a while now, because they're one of the only major companies, broadcasters, where they have national news segments and they pass it down to their local stations, and it appears local, but it's really something that was formulated at a much larger scale and consulted by conservative think tanks. So it doesn't seem like so that's what Ajit and his FCC have done since he got appointed by Trump, so it doesn't look like the FCC is going to do much, other than that they are going to require Sinclair to sell a dozen of their stations, which is pretty much a token gesture. It doesn't do much of anything, but otherwise the FCC seems to have the thumbs up. And the Justice Department is going to review it on the grounds of antitrust. But otherwise, it seems like this Sinclair Tribune deal is going to get the green light for it. So Sinclair is going to grow a much bigger audience. And it's troubling because they have a pretty conservative bias in their reporting. Sinclair does. First of all, they have ties with the Trump administration. The former Trump official, Boris Epstein, he used to be an official for Trump, and and since April he's been hired as Sinclair's chief political analyst. So now he used to work for Trump. Now he's a political analyst, the political analyst for Sinclair. David Smith, Sinclair's CEO, he has met with Trump before. He's spoken with Trump. Take that with a grain of salt, but he's been in contact with Trump. And you have them. They've got people like Mark Hyman, who works for Sinclair. He does news segments where he's said inflammatory things like calling college students snowflake social justice warriors, and criticizing college climates in general where they're too politically correct and they don't understand the real world, I guess. So yeah, I guess liberal snowflakes and college students, they're the problem with America, not the Republican propaganda that we're not really conservative propaganda nationwide in both sides of the parties. Anyway, they and they've criticized Obama and his administration relentlessly during his time. In fact, going as far as to tie Obama to the Weather Underground, which is ridiculous. They've hired Cheryl Atkinson, considered a conspiracy theorist by many. They've attacked DeRay McKenson, a Black Lives Matter activist. They've damaged his reputation by associating him with a lot of segments that have little or nothing to do with him. They've done numerous things that show that they are a conservatively biased and leaning network. Mainly, their ties to the Trump administration and the Boris Epstein guy being hired as the head analyst, the political analyst for Sinclair now, who used to work for Trump. So they just have Sinclair is going to have a ridiculously huge reach now, and little to nothing has been or is going to be done to stop this deal. The FCC seems to is going to allow it if they give up a couple of stations as a token, as really just a gesture, and the Justice Department is reviewing the case for antitrust laws, but antitrust grounds, but hasn't seemed to do anything about it yet. They aren't taking action as of yet. So it's probably going to happen, and local news stations are about to get considerably more conservative, and they're going to be considerably more consolidated, where news segments come from a national level and are passed down and trying to be passed off and sold as local news broadcasting and local news reporting, which isn't true. So your average uninformed right-leaning rural viewers, which is a large part of our audience, they're going to be bamboozled and think that this is local and it's not, and it's going to feed right into their it's just not good for our country. It's a propaganda. Sinclair is a propaganda network, as they've seemed to show. Worse so than a lot of other mainstream news, in the sense that it's, local rural or local network is the news that are considered more trustworthy. People don't trust national news as much, but when national news is passed off as local news, that's really misleading, and most of the audience isn't going to know the difference. So anyway, that's all I got to say on the matter for now, but it doesn't sound good. All right, guys, we'll keep in touch.